By the way, if these gloves look a little bit more grubby than usual, it's because I was playing over the weekend with them and I haven't really been bothered to wash them yet. But I had a good time, and that's the main thing. You gotta hand it to G&G. They have got really, really, really clever marketing, and I'll tell you why. So, everybody knows the best starter gun for beginners is a G&G combat machine, and I've always said they are the gateway drug of airsoft. They are responsible for getting more people into the sport than anything else. So you buy, they say, hey kid, here's a G&G combat machine, and you think, wow, it's so great. Yeah, but you wanna upgrade. That's just your gateway. After that, you want something a little bit better. And what do you buy after that? G&G's got you covered. This is the G&G Wild Hog 13.5 inch. Now I know what you're thinking, yes, it sounds like an overpowered sex toy, but it's not. It's an airsoft gun, and today I'll be reviewing this lovely piece. Bearing in mind as well, this is also kind of a review of the G&G Predator as well, which I see a lot of people move on to also after their combat machine. The only difference between this and the Predator really is the rail. So instead of having this nice long rail, they'll have about a 10-inch rail, which I think comes from about there, with a little bottle opener looking thing on the end of it. I don't know, some people like it, I think it looks heinous. Anyway, the gun itself. So let's go from tip to butt, and I'll talk all about it. Now this is a bit of a bizarre review because it's not actually very representative of what you get out of the box, because I've changed quite a few things. I've had this gun for coming on 6 years now. 6 years, and it's still running completely fine. Almost, I'll get into that. So I have changed a few things. I've put on a Crytac flash hider because it looks cool, and at the time I couldn't afford a Crytac, so anything that made it look more like a Crytac I was happy. And then I put on a bit of a barrel extension. That's because I replaced the inner barrel, and I'll tell you about the original barrel in just a moment when we go through the internals. Next, you've got, as the name suggests, a 13.5 inch key mod rail, as was the style at the time. Every gun since now uses M-lock. If you see a new gun with a rail, it's M-lock, and people bash key mod, but key mod's absolutely fine. I've had no issues with that. Everything is completely held in solidly, so yeah. What's incredible about this rail as well is it's extremely light. It's made completely from aluminium. Yes, not aluminum, aluminium. It's so light. If you were to take off all this unnecessary bullshit that I've clamped onto it, it feels like you're running around with a polymer gun in a good way. All right. What have I done to it? So I replaced the front sights with these Ember style flip ups, which are, in my opinion, a bit cooler. The original sights that you get with it look like this, which, you know, they're cool. They do the job, but a little bit plain Jane. I've got the rear one here. And what I love about them is they are, even 6 years on, still clicky. And you know how much I love clicky stuff. Again, a gun of mine wouldn't be complete without a completely useless flashlight at the front as well, with a pressure pad. If you can hear my dog, just ignore her, she's going to be crazy. Further down, I've put on a, what do they call it now? Hand stop, there you go. Again, not very useful, but it looks really cool, so it stays on. And then I've got, as my hand wraps around it, some key mod rail covers as well to go with it and complete the look. You don't get this with the gun either. These are QD sling mounts that I've just added to either side just to make my life a bit easier. The mounting of the rail right there is very solid. It will not move out of place. I haven't had to tighten these screws in probably about 5 years, and you could play bloody baseball with this gun. You could hold it this way and it's not, you know, it's not moving. One thing that does move on these guns, which is very disappointing, is the barrel itself. So if you're not careful, I've put mine back in place now and almost solved the problem, but it does loosen over time. The barrel from there does start to wobble and move around a little bit inside the rail system. Now I don't have to tell you why that's a problem, and it's a bit upsetting that it is. To solve the issue, I always put a little dab of glue there just to hold the rail in place, just at the gas block. Disappointing, but overall not bad. Just airsoft, isn't it? They're not made to the same tolerances as real guns. What can you do? So then you move back and you've got a full metal body. Now I've seen these with polymer bodies as well, which are fine, but this metal body has been absolutely brilliant. I'm not sure what type of metal they use, probably just a cast metal or something like that, but it's been completely solid for me and no complaints. And it's got the billet style to it, which again was popular at the time. Every gun had a billet style receiver. What's cool as well, you've got ambidextrous control, so you've got ambi mag release on either side, and then you've got ambi fire selector, which, you know, is handy. So if you're born wrong-handed, you've always got something to make your life a little bit easier, so that's always good. One annoying thing about this fire selector is that it's held together with two screws on either side, like there and there. And as you actuate the fire selector, no matter which way you turn it, eventually one of those screws starts to come loose on either side, depending on which way you're turning it. So I've had this gun in the field. That will start to get loose and the fire selector will start to come off. It's only because I noticed that, and I'm so acclimated to this gun, that I noticed it was getting loose. I looked down and realized it was 1 or 2 turns from falling off that, and I was able to save it. If that was dropped in the field, you can forget about it. You'll never get that piece back. So really do bear that in mind. It is a bit of a design flaw in my opinion, and it's not the best, but you know, hold that in mind. Another thing that I've done to this gun out of necessity is I had to replace the charging handle with this combat machine charging handle. Ordinarily you get some cool ass ambidextrous charging handle with, like, you know, you can actuate on both sides with the little lock thing. Yeah, that broke off pretty easy. I don't know what I was doing to it. Usually I'm pretty good with guns, but the good news is, you know, because it's G&G, because inside it's all basic bitch accessories and materials and everything, you can use you know, there's a lot of compatibility with other G&G products, so that combat machine charging handle fit in there absolutely perfectly. Moving back, you've got just a standard buffer tube, okay, and then you don't have this stock. This is a VFC QRS stock that I had to put onto this gun almost out of necessity. The standard stocks that you get with the Wild Hog series and the Predator series are just bullshit. They're so big and clunky, and yeah, they're kind of comfortable as well, but on the inside they've got absolutely zero space. It's terrible. It's kind of like a Nissan Juke in a way. Out on the outside it looks all big and beefy, and yeah, you open it up and it's like a Nissan Micro inside, so what's going on? So I replaced it with this one because I love the fact that you open it up there, you've got space there going up and down, and you've got space either side as well. The standard stock will only have space either side, so battery is a bit of an issue. It's doubly an issue because this shares the same annoying tendency as the G&G ARP9, that they stick all the MOSFET, all the wiring, all the bullshit, all in the buffer tube there. So you can forget about fitting a battery in that buffer tube. You have to rely on the stock. And if your stock is tiny on the inside, well, you might be out of luck. The other thing I changed is this pistol grip. So this is like an Ares Amoeba pistol grip, which is nice and small. It's got rubberized bits on it. It looks really cool. I love it. The original one, some people absolutely love it and feel super comfortable. It's quite big and chunky. It comes with like finger grooves. I wasn't a fan, so I removed that straight away. What else did I do to it? Well, I don't know. I added a red dot sight because it looks cool and nothing else. And speaking of looks cool, I usually run it with these Aries short mags because, yeah, look at that. I could pretend it's a DMR without doing any other work to make it a DMR. How awesome is that? Because airsoft, let's be honest, it's not about functionality, it's about looks. Let's be honest, let's be honest. Okay, so that's what I did outwardly. Inside, what do you get? Now, as I mentioned, I have owned this gun for coming on 6 years now, and I've never had any significant issues with it at all. I've changed, there we are. Yeah, that's worn a little bit, so it takes a while to actually open that. I've changed a few things though. That originally was a plastic hop. I've replaced it with like a metal hop. I replaced the G&G bucking in it with a Prometheus purple bucking. Again, it's not necessary because the G&G bucking is fantastic, but I felt like being a fancy pants, so there you go. As well as that, I've put in a Modify hybrid aluminium inner barrel, 6.1mm, which is the reason for the barrel extension because it comes to about there, just to improve the performance. When you get these guns, outwardly they're great. Internally, they'll run for 1,000 years, but the performance isn't great, I found. So you do have to tweak it just a little bit just to make it run as you like. The standard barrels that come with it aren't the best quality. They are literally just combat machine barrels. That's it. And they're okay. You'll be able to hold your own. But if you really want to reach out and touch somebody, and I know you all do, you perverts, you really want to think about replacing the barrel in these guns. Another thing that I replaced was the motor. So it comes with a, I think they just call it an intermediate motor. I think they're called basically all the components in here intermediate, which is a bit vague. But I replaced it with a high torque, so I've got slightly better rate of fire and it will pull that spring a little bit easier. Talking about the spring, every time I see this on forums all the time, and I don't know why G&G are playing this game, but they'll advertise the Wild Hog series and they'll advertise the Predator series as having 330 FPS out of the box. Fantastic, great. When you actually go to shoot the bloody thing, you're more likely, I'm not the only one that's experienced this, many other people experience this, seem to be shooting 230, 250 out of the box. I don't know if it's a poor air seal. I don't know if they're just putting too low powered springs in these things, but that's something to take into consideration. Nearly everyone I spoke to that's had a G&G Predator or G&G Wildhog has experienced them being low powered out of the box, which isn't too much of a problem if you know, you had a quick change spring, which you don't. Again, it's fucking inexcusable. I know this gun is like 6 years old, but even 6 years ago, quick change springs were almost standard. They're still using gearbox chassis without a quick change spring. So if you want to increase the power in this thing, you've got to take the whole thing apart. And if you're a new player or a player that's been playing for like a year or two, that's a daunting process. Now, I'm no negative airsoft, fucking cunt, but I do know my way around a gearbox, and it's not too much of an issue for me. But for other people, yeah, that's not good. I've got to be honest there. It's got the ETU system. That's kind of famous for advertising, which is pretty cool. It's just like the, I think it's actually a little bit older than the ETU system that's in the ARP9. This was one of the first ones that came out. Again, there's reports of these being unreliable and breaking. Touch wood, never happened to me so far in, like I say, 6 years. It's always kept chugging. It's always kept going. I've never had an issue with the ETU. And the rate of fire on this thing, even with the standard motor, was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Really snappy shots with this thing as well. And it's got a cool little feature, which if you hold down that trigger for 10 seconds, it will change from fully automatic to 3-round burst, which is pretty cool, I think. Now we come on to the price of these guns, and I've got to ask, is it worth it? At the moment, you're looking at G&G Predators and G&G Wild Hogs, even though they're older models, going for about 280 to 300 pounds in some places. And there's so much competition out there. You've got the SEMA Platinum Series, which is so much bang for your buck for less money. You've got Specna arms. Say what you want about them, but they are very, very affordable and very, very good value for what you get. Is 280 to 300 pounds too much for this gun? It depends. It depends what you value. If you value something that's going to work and work and work and work, and you never have to worry really about it breaking down as long as you look after it, then I'd say it probably is worth it. As I say, 6 bloody years I've had this, so it's been worth it for me. But you've got to take in consideration there are limitations to these things. They're likely to be lower powered. The performance isn't great. The internal components, although solid, they're not flash and fancy. So yeah. So really, that's all I've got to say about that. That has been the G&G Wild Hog 13.5 inch. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have enjoyed, why not press subscribe? Why not like the video? Dislike it if you dislike it, that's fine. I post on this channel every now and again, and who knows, some of it might actually be good content one of these days. Fingers crossed. Anyway, thank you.